Hello, my name is Dominic Underhallhouse and welcome to another episode of Moonbreaker. In today's episode, it's going to be straight into it because we've got the tournament later on today, so I'm actually recording this on the day it's being released, and I want to get in a little bit more practice before we go ahead and jump into those games. So, what I'm going to be doing is I've had quite a little practice with my my Astra list, my Astra competitive, and I'm going to go in with my Zax list next. So this is the second list that I've got. I haven't had as much practice with this as I'd like, so I want to get a few practice games in so I know, which list to pick in which matchups. So the way that the format's going to be is that we see your opponent's lists and then you get to pick one of yours. So you submit two lists each and you get to pick one that you're going to see, that you get to play without knowing which one of theirs they pick. So quite an interesting format. This list here, we've got obviously Maximus, Deadeye, Beatris, my standard sort of early game plays for any defensive list. We've got Blindsider Eztli as our 3-drop, Shrapnel as our standard 4-drop, Florio as our big finisher, and then the good old defensive combo of Ursix Nectarvine and Aegys Defense Dome, all at the helm with Zax. So I like Zax because with Blindsider Eztli, his abilities are actually useful when you need to spam Cinder out, alongside Florio getting that positioning in, being able to move the Nectarvine, grouping people up for Beatris or Shrapnel. It adds up really nicely. So this is the package I'm going to go with. I'm going to jump into a few games and hopefully I'll see you in there. If you like this content, you like the channel, please do hit that subscribe button. And you may now be able to notice that starting from yesterday technically, but as today as well, there is now going to be a Patreon link down below. So we've actually got our first Patreon already. So I want to thank PAX a huge amount for being the first one to sign up to that. It's a great way to support what we're doing here. I'm trying to put a little bit more sort of content development together. So we've got the Patreon set up. The stream has got a few more features to it. We've got alerts and all that sort of thing. We've got a donation button. We've got everything on there a little bit more polished, so hopefully we're going to be streaming a little bit more often as well, and I can really start putting some time and effort back into all of this content even more than I have been already, because I'm really keen for it, and hopefully you guys are too. So pop down to those links below if you think you can give us that bit of support, and if not, I'm just glad you're here, and I'll see you back in game. Okay, we've just found our first game, and hopefully we're going to have a good match here. I've got no idea what we're going to come up against, but I did just message in the Discord to see if anyone was up for a few games, because I think everyone is currently playing on the experimental server and having fun with all the new toys over there. So I think for today at least, ooh, Stimburst Disruptor. These are literally my two favourite assists, so there's no world in which I'm not taking them. Yeah, I know exactly who this is. I love that. Golden Zax, beautiful. So we can go for the angle here. It's not a good shot, but honestly, They've got the Cinder advantage, so we're going to need to just try and take a couple of risks to start off. So we'll take this. We did miss, but that's fine. And then I usually like putting Maximus somewhere around here, making it as hard as possible to hit. Maybe here works. No, let's go with here and just... So this is immediately a risk to take, because this does give them a shot onto one of our more valuable units, but it's also not a great shot. And maybe they just make a mistake, and honestly I think the thing to do here is take a shot and just hide. They've got the Cinder advantage in the long run, we've got Stim Burst. 44, I'd probably go for the captain here. Yeah. So the fact that that was a miss is actually really big for us, because we've got Stim Burst, so we might be able to get a lot of pressure down this turn. So for instance, if we can get an angle onto their Maximus, which I can't believe we're just out of range of an angle here, so we're going to pop into here and just start pushing damage onto the captain. And I know that there are different orders in which to do this, but at this point I feel like it's quite valuable to just be applying pressure as quick as possible. And now we've got Beatris here, but I actually think what we want to do is place a Deadeye somewhere this sort of angle, so that they find it harder to hide from us. They can hide over this way, but we want to be sort of like pinning them into the corner and trying that out. So again, we've left them space onto Zax, which is fine, but if they just pin over back here, that's really good for us. That means Deadeye's actually got a reasonable shot next turn, and we've got something we can do here. Okay, they got one hit off, so that means we now need to be more careful with our Max, but that's absolutely what we're going to do. Depending on what they play with Force Cinder, if they play like a... Okay, Beatris here is fine. If they play... I'm more worried about like an aggressive Shrapnel. Oh, Rickety. Okay, so now we just have to kill Rickety. I mean, that does mean we have to use all of our shots on it, which I suppose is pretty reasonable. And Tlali as well. Okay, so Tlali I'm not as worried about, but I do think we definitely need to go for the rickety play here.
Time to strut.
So just make sure we get at least one of these in. I was going for that in the hope that it would be a crit. So this does block some line of sight. Pop Deadeye in here to get this. And with our 3 Cinder, at this point I actually feel like it might be just play Beatris in and save a Cinder maybe. So Max can move around there, so they've actually got a pretty good line of sight there. So maybe it's just play Beatris here. And yeah, I think this is about right. It's going to be hard for them to get to us. I'm actually going to move our Zax up a little bit to try and avoid... I'm trying to avoid awkward lines of sight here. So basically I don't want Tlali to be able to just... Oh, sorry, I don't want them to have a good line of sight onto our Maximus. I want to still be able to use it. So this is probably killing us here. I didn't judge that quite correctly, so that's a shame on our part. So now we've both lost one crew, but ours are slightly tougher than theirs at the moment. But they do have the long-term Cinder advantage, but we've got 5 Cinder next turn to deploy Florio, or we can go for something like Blindsider Eztli or Shrapnel. I think Florio is probably the pick here, looking at how aggressive their units are. This is a good position for us if they don't move Max, but we might also be able to hit Tlali in as well, so... Yeah, Beatris is in a good spot here. That miss is also nice. Okay, and what's their 4-drop? This feels like they should be playing a Shrapnel here. Shrapnel would be so hard to deal with, but we'll wonder what they've got. So they've got something with a big base. We haven't seen a Beatris yet, so there's a good chance it's that. We've not seen... Okay, Ion Storm, does that hit our Beatris? It does, but that doesn't affect the attack through, so... Okay, so we're getting pinned here, that's fine. We're not getting pinned. What is this? I can't figure out what big base it's going to be other than... Oh, it's Chuck, of course it is. Chuck makes sense. So... Interesting. This always has me thinking, is it worth actually going for 2 damage on our own captain to hit Chuck for 1, but...
Wanna have a jam sesh?
I don't think it is. But I now don't know how we get any other direction. So if we leave that exactly where it is and just do this maybe. Yeah, so now we can just... Oh, we're still trapped.
Bravery requires teensy breaks.
I guess we just take the hit. We should have taken the 1 damage on the captain here. We'll knock that back. We've got the crit, which is nice. So let's go for a bit of safety here. Make it a little bit harder for Max. Did miss, that's fine. And now looking at the board state, I kind of don't hate a Florio. So I think I want to go for a Florio now and try and just force out that, you know, equation to be dealt with. Also, I love the light-coloured Chuck and Co's. I've seen a few different light ones, and they actually always look a lot better than I thought. So yeah, now we've got Florio out, we can start looking at different options here. Zax hasn't got too far to move. We've got our Zax, who's useful here, but again, them with the Cinder advantage is pretty terrifying, but we do currently have the crew advantage, but we're going to be spending a lot of that Cinder every turn. So this is where things like using Deadeye's ability is going to come into play, so we can actually make good use of our Cinder, because otherwise we're not going to be able to play anything. That crit's pretty brutal. Is this a... Oh, Vortex. Okay, so they've just got the ability to kill our Deadeye here. That's pretty difficult for us, but it does at least work, because they can just chuck it, as in toss it. Is that what it's called? Toss it? Yeah, toss it. Oh, we're still getting blocked in again. I don't think I'm positioning very well this game. With a Sentinel. Sure. Sentinel is a pretty good blocking option there. So the question is, what do we have to do about this? Can we even get those? I'll tell you what we might be able to do. If we grab disc this, then we can play something else out, like Eztli. And that might work a little better, especially if we can get this somewhere that we don't care about as much, like over here. We can stim burst Beatris, because she might as well just move. I don't think a good angle here. We could go for the crew approach here, but I think just raw captain damage is probably better at this point. So we can take 3 damage, or we can just... Yeah, there's no way of avoiding taking 3 damage, so I think we just come over here, shoot this, take that shot,
their platform.
So we can't use this turn, but we can play Eztli and maybe block Maximus in place. Not quite. So if we do this though, there we go. We're now fairly well protected, and Maximus is not able to move. Got Eztli out. Like, Eztli isn't going to do much here, but it's going to just kill Maximus next turn and give us free reign up this side of the board. So they can get, what, 6 damage onto us now, 7, 8. And we've got to deal 12 to them eventually. So next turn it might be, if we don't end up using Florio, this could be the turn we start bringing out Nectarvine. But we've got a position where their Sentinel will only deal 3 damage to us, no matter where it shoots. It will deal 3 here or 3 here, unless they use other things to go with it. So I'm okay with that. Crosshair is an interesting one. I actually don't think Crosshair is bad. I think Crosshair is underrated as it stands. But I do think in this situation, if we play this correctly, we could actually just be looking at a damage race. Maybe even just leaving this here and trying to fit Eztli in another route up to this certain angle. Yep, so they get the damage in, that's fine. So given that we haven't taken more damage here, I think I'm perfectly fine just going for damage here. Just moving everything we can.
What is this armor made of?
I mean, there's nothing to say we shouldn't just poke this. There we go, we got that through. So we're going to want to move. I mean, we could just play ourselves out a defense dome, but I almost feel here that Bombard might just be worth it. Hitting both of these is probably more valuable, because this Bombard puts us on a 2-turn clock, I believe. Yeah. And then we want to grav disc something, so this needs to move. We can't not move here. Do you know what we can grav disc actually? If we grav disc these all slightly this way, maybe leave it so that there's no line of sight onto our Florio. Oh, that didn't work anyway. Just go for this. We should have just waited and then moved. Because we got Stimburst next turn, I think I'm just going to move up here slightly, call it a day, and then we should be able to get in onto this next turn. So they've got, what was it? I don't think they're going to get angle on this. They've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage onto our Zax, so I think we're okay. I am slightly worried about the Ion Storm, but we've got multiple ways of dealing damage next turn. The interesting one is there's actually a route where if we can put something else in front of Zax and then use Beatris, that actually does more damage to us. To them, sorry. Okay, so this is a route to potentially get some damage, but I don't know if it's worth it. Especially if we've got any way of doing anything about this. So us having access to Defense Dome or Nectarvine next turn is pretty good. Okay, Bitol. Maybe there is a route. So 4 here. Okay, that being a miss is good for us. This is obviously a nice big effect. But it didn't stop Beatris. If they don't do anything to Beatris, we win. Because we can just hit this for 3 and then Florio for the rest. Sorry, hit this for 2, then Florio for the rest. So this is a very important deployment. They need to deploy something that blocks Beatris here or stops her getting in. No, nothing. I actually don't know if we've even used Disrupt. Yep, that'll probably do it. Yeah, that's going to be the end of that game there. So Beatris can move in here, go for the triple hit. And we'll just bombard all 3 of them to death. There we go. So it was a bit harder fought, but we did have a lot of defensive lineup to go. So I'm kind of happy with how that went. Like, we could have had a bit more of a control over things, but I felt like it was pretty reasonable. Nectarvine's leveled up again, which is nice. But yeah, that's a pretty solid game all in all. It wasn't the best one I've ever played, but I felt fairly clean. We managed to keep the Sentinel from ever actually becoming relevant. So between positioning and grav disc and sort of keeping it where we wanted it rather than when they did, it left it being more like 5 Cinder to activate rather than 3, because they'd have to grav disc it into position and then activate. So essentially, we just sort of use that to make it a lot more inefficient for them to play that. So pretty happy with that. Let's see what we've got here. So it is us again. Are we against LME again or standby? We are. Okay. So this is good because I want to try and get some more practice in. Stasis and Vortex is easily the best here. So these are actually 2 of my favourite assists, especially if I'm playing aggressively. Stasis is great. This isn't the most aggressive list, but Stasis still absolutely makes the cut. We are going first again, which is not really what we want here. The question is there a good Maximus deployment? And we could go here, but then this doesn't bode well for a Maximus, but I want to try and get as safe as possible, as far forward as possible, because I don't see any other route we can go without being too cagey, and we want to apply early pressure. So this doesn't give them a good angle. Oh, that does. Oops. I didn't even look over there. Yeah, Max probably does. So we're going to have to be really careful with Max moving forward. Plink luckily doesn't really matter here, but it could matter. Okay, so if we can get line of sight onto their Max, that's far better for us than anything else. Yeah. Okay, we've got both of those. That's good news. We obviously can't get anything here, so we're just going to go for the aggressive play in this direction. And then I think what we do is actually... So they can move up here and get a good line of sight. Max maybe should have gone back here a little further, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to deploy a Deadeye over here. Maybe use this to block Max slightly. So they have to come out into an aggressive position if they want to kill Maximus. So this gives us a little bit more pressure. I don't think it's quite the right choice, but yeah, there's no guaranteed line onto Max here, so there's a chance they could miss. And if they do miss, we're in a good spot. Here I'd probably even consider... Like, Maximus going for this, but I'd probably even shoot Deadeye. But yeah, so one of these should hit. Oh, yeah, there we go. And there Max gets to move. But we've got Vortex next turn, so we should be able to clear out Max. And then on top of that, just keep applying pressure. Yeah, the Plink. And if they've got a 2-drop, we're hoping this isn't their Beatris. Because if they place like a Beatris over here, we're in a bit of trouble. This is an aggressive Beatris placement. Oh, it's Rickety. Okay, sure. Because Rickety just hits like a truck. Yeah, of course it is. So I think what we need to do here is just try and get... We can't get a good line of sight onto the Maximus, so I think we actually do need to just make that happen rather than just see what happens. We're going to just move Deadeye over here to just make this as safe as possible. But then because Deadeye is actually pretty tough, and Rickety doesn't have the best range, we really missed that. That's a pretty unfortunate one. Because I was kind of relying on not missing that. What we might... It does have flying though. Do you know what we can do? If we play Beatris about here, this should block the movement that they've got with Rickety and make it nearly impossible for Rickety to get to us, because Rickety can't fly over. And that gives us a lot safer of an option for next turn to try and kill it. Okay, Stim Burst changes all of that. That's actually a terrible thing for us now, and maybe we should have left no space at all, but if this doesn't explode, we're in a good spot. Okay, it does explode, not ideal, but Plink again on us. On their Rickety, just to make us have to spend 2 attacks. That works. So the question is, how much do we really need to spend on Rickety? I think this time we're going to go for the Shrapnel play, because I think... Okay, they're just going face. If they're just going face, this is actually not too bad for us, because I don't think they realise quite how much of a defensive list we've got access to. So we can just clear these up, hide back here. Maybe this, yeah, them having Eztli is actually a problem. I think we actually have to stun Eztli. So we just take these hits. Probably move over here. We're going to need to start clearing some things up. So, the question is, what do we clear? What have we got in here? We've got Eztli, Shrapnel, Florio, so we can't afford to be playing Florio here. So what we're going to need to do is start chipping damage onto Eztli if we can, which we can't, that's fine. I'm going to pop Shrapnel down here to try and block them into place. And if that does block Eztli, it doesn't. I didn't think it necessarily would because they've placed slightly further away. So we're just going to stun it as well. And then no sense in using a Sleeper Mine here because it's Zax versus Zax. So we're just trying to put pressure on, and then next turn we can put some defensive units down. So we can't quite get in range of this, which is unfortunate because we had to move back here to hit Rickety, but we're doing okay. Yeah, we're not out of this yet. The idea is going to be next turn to use all 3 of these units, if they're alive, to kill their Eztli and see what we can do from there. But this is a tough spot. You know, if they went aggressive quickly, which is a good thing to do for them. Ooh, Bytol. Okay, so they might actually be able to push through damage here. Okay, so they're just going to kill Deadeye. That makes sense. Yeah. So we might be able to get some good use out of Beatris here and push in this direction. But I'm not sure how much this is really going to do. It's not even quite in range, unfortunately, but...
Heard every excuse.
So let's go for here to try and block off everything that wants to come towards us. This is a good shot for us. I like this. Yeah, we hit most of it. Now, so this has got a good range over here, but we could potentially just move in here, go for this shot. There we go. So now Eztli's out of range. Zax is the only one that could come onto us. So I think here we actually just play out a defense dome and start trying to slow the game down a little bit. So they've obviously got stim burst. They can get into range if they need to, but it's going to deal 1 less damage, so it's going to be down to 3, possibly 4 if they still get Bitol into range, but we're going to be able to start healing next turn. We can group things up with both Beatris and Shrapnel using our Vortex, so this isn't the worst. We're not doing well, but we're not dead yet. So this only deals 1. Like, we need to kill these units pretty sharp. Like, we are in a bit of trouble here, but luckily we should be able to make up for that with some AoEs. Oh yeah, because we want to... We could be down to 1 here, actually. So we need to kill these units next turn. And I don't know if we've really got quite what we need to do it. I'm not sure about the Vortex, because I don't think it pulls anything out of range. Unless this is... Okay, Tlali. Oh, okay, they're going for the mine. Interesting. Yep. Yeah, and oh yeah, Pink doesn't do anything here, but
What's the hurry?
Who designed this outfit?
so the fact that we're stuck in this is awkward. But so that does hit our captain.
I'm the Cinder Whisperer.
So the question is, can we just pull this mine away without it being used to just destroy us? Is the important thing, because if we could pull the mine and that, we'd be in a good spot. We need to play Nectarvine down, so we do have 2 spare Cinder. So I think what I'm actually going to do is try and go for like a double whammy here. So I'm going to pull this way.
Crossing them
I'm going
out.
to move up here to try and shoot all of these things. I don't mind if it hits our Beatris. This seems reasonable. Perfect. So then Beatris has a great angle here, so we can just move back here. Get Beatris to clear out some of this. We can shoot here. Do we have... So we're going to place Nectarvine down in front. And we're also just going to grab disc these 2 together. Can we get that? Oh no, have I messed that up? Oh no. Let's try that. Maybe this works, maybe this doesn't. I might have... Oh, I messed that up royally. I didn't actually put myself in range of it. Oops. So now we're actually in a lot more trouble than I thought, because I thought I was going to be... I didn't think I was going to be moving the Nectarvine, but... We've got some damage, we just don't know if we're going to be able to actually live next turn, and we don't have any more defensive things to do. So this still deals us 1. No, not the crit. The crit... Okay, so we need to be in range of this next turn. Everything is going to have to just... turn and burn as quick as possible. I'm glad we got rid of the mine, actually, because without the mine we'd have been dead.
Still got it.
So this is fine, this is fine. We're going to block this off, move around here. Oh, it's crosshair. Okay. So do we have anything that deals with crosshair? We can use the mine to deal with them. So I don't know what we do here. So we've got a lot of movement. We can move into range of what we need to. I think here we have to try and kill everything that they've got. But we don't want to block Beatris off. So let's go with this angle first. I mean, it's going to hit our own plant, but that's fine. Beatris can push this, which is good. We can move into plant range here. We should, in theory, be able to get this if we just get our good grav disc off.
Sounds like you're thinking.
We just need this grav disc to be the right one. So this grav disc I think works. We're not in range of this. They are. This should be the game if we end it here. We heal. Amazing. I was actually like really tense feeling there. I wasn't sure we are going to make that at all. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to try and squeeze in for one more game. That was one of the better games I've played in a while now. So I'm glad I've got some practice in with this list. I'll squeeze one last one in before we have to get off and start processing this and get ready for the actual tournament itself. Because I've got a few errands to run first. And this is going to be the last of the 3 practice games, but all these have been close. I'm hoping it's standby again, LME. Let's have a look. Oh, we've got a different paint job, so we're not sure who this is going to be. Out of all these, I think Disruptor's the best option. Lifeline's okay. We are a defensive list. I think this is right. Okay, it's a TM. So someone I don't remember the name of, a level 43 opponent. Loving their yellow Extilior here. So this is my standard thing to do versus Extilior. You check where they can move, you just place Maximus right in the middle, and it makes it nearly impossible for them to do anything to him, and also to hide from him as well. So this will hopefully be a good enough aggressive start. We're not next to the wall, so they can't block us in very easily. Yeah, so if they're going over here, we actually just want to start focusing on their Maximus as well. We can just go here and try and poke for some damage. Probably even this route is where we want to go to. We get our hits in. And then this is one of the things that I think is a thing that people do quite often but don't realise, is just trap themselves. We could stick Beatris in here. It's probably worth it because she can move in a moment. So we'll just stick Beatris here. Max can't move. And now we've got... Like, basically, I could stick Deadeye here, but I think Deadeye having more health is more valuable, and Beatris can move in this direction as we rotate this way, and it gives us a little bit more safety. So they can spin, yep. And how aggressively are they're going to deploy is the question. Okay, so they've got their Deadeye out now, and I think here's where we just start pushing back and trying to work on Extilior. I don't think there's a route in which Beatris can get an angle on here, so I think we're just going to hit and then move in. But we're going to hit, do all this, and then move in. So Max might be able to shoot something else first, but that's fine, especially with us having Lifeline here. And then we're obviously going to be looking at playing Eztli here as well.
Who designed this outfit?
So, yeah, so we can just move here, shoot this, move in and get another shot off, or a couple of shots rather. Got a nice crit. We can move back here slightly. We don't want to go too far back because we still want to be able to find angles around this. Move Beatris up and forward so she's in spin range but not in melee range. And then Blindsider Eztli can come out somewhere, probably just... Okay, actually looking at it, I don't think Eztli is going to be that impactful, but I still want to put him down here because we've got our Disruptor Beam and we can potentially push that forward next turn. So we've got a good position here, yet they can't quite get in range without a Vortex, so if they got Vortex that's fine. Willing to lose Maximus to that. Yep, no problem. So they'll be able to spin and hit both, and slap and hit Maximus, but they're going to take a ton of damage on the backswing because of this, so they're going to take, what, 4... Okay, interesting. So with this, it makes me feel like I almost have to go for the attack. I'm going to anyway because I've got Lifeline, and then I might be able to just heal up. So we're going to spend our 4 Cinder here. It's going to be probably Shrapnel.
What is this armor made of?
The other option is, do we just go for... I think here I'm actually just going to move up and take a shot onto Deadeye. We're going to move Beatris in. Is she in spin range? She is. So the question is it worth just pushing her in to try and get a shot at least? I think it is. As long as she doesn't hit... Yeah, she doesn't hit Eztli with it. And we've got the crit as well, which is nice. Here I think I'm going to put Shrapnel down there. I'm going to try and trap Eztli in this direction, so if it hits it's even better. Good chance, but not guaranteed. I was about to say if we don't crit we can heal. If they crit it's just a risk we have to take, so that was beat me to the sentence there. Like, I think that at that point it's worth trying to heal, because we've got enough damage on the board to kill them, and we've got a grab disc if we need to, so barring them shielding themselves every turn, we're in a pretty good spot. Yeah, so Beatris is going to be just short of getting into range, but potentially close. And I think we can probably finish this off over the next couple of turns. Okay, Quetzali, so they're either going to run away or just go for our face. Yeah, it looks like they're going to try and trap us in place. Okay, so with this, what we're going to do is we're going to shoot, we're going to move backwards, we're going to shoot with Shrapnel, and then we're going to try and move in for the win here. In fact,
The wings were a bad choice.
yeah, so let's get Shrapnel shot off here. Good chance of hitting. Perfect. So we're going to move Beatris and just see if we can grav disc the two together. It is entirely possible, but we can't tell quite who's going to go where. So this is kind of awkward because... So I know this is something the devs are actually working on, is replacing this effect with something more clear. Honestly, I think we just go for the cluster and see what happens. Okay, it doesn't work, but that's fine. We'll just pop our own Deadeye in here. And honestly, we're at a lot of risk here, but they can't move. Can't do anything in either direction. They need to get more damage off than they currently have, so I'm just going to leave this here. I wish we could lifeline, but if I was playing this, you know, and I wasn't 100% sure I could get the Beatris, I'd have just kept running away and pulled us away. But I figured I wanted to try it out and see what we could do. The sensible choice here isn't to go for this, because this gives them an option for a couple of crits. Okay, so they had to go for Deadeye there, trying to prevent the death. I think that's a brutal miss as well. So Extilior can run away here. This is absolutely reasonable to... Oh no, it can't, because they didn't kill Deadeye. That's what they were going for. They're going for kill Deadeye and run away. So unless... Yeah, we're pretty good here. We're willing to kill our own units to make this happen. Perfect. So there we go. 3 games with the list. We did get 3 wins. They were very, very close. I mean, I don't think I'm playing this list up to me, but I think it's a really strong list, and I think it's got good potential. So I'm looking forward to running this in the tournament later today. I want to say thank you to all my opponents, especially LME Standby, who just queued up, especially to help us get into get some content recorded, get some practice in, and all of them were actually pretty decent level opponents as well. So we did end up getting some really good games in, and I think I feel pretty well prepared for tonight. You know, I'm not 100%, you know, confident against every player. There's some good players in there, that some of which I've played against a lot of times, but it's a lot of fun to be had. My first time trying it, and I really want to just jump in. So, like I was saying before, if you want to support the channel, we've got the subscribe button, we've now got the Patreon, so if you want to be our second ever Patreon, feel free to head over there. We've got loads of things set up, loads of exciting plans for the future, so I'd really love to hear about you guys and what you want to hear as part of the community. Make sure you hit that like button, and most importantly, have a good day.